यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन नंद यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे 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 राम राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 राम राम Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnavrind ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We can all chant together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudire nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloker bhaktir bhavati naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Panchatattvaatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakhyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Hare Krishna. Mukam karoti vachalam pangham langhayate girim yat kripatam aham vande Shri Gurun Deenataranam Paramanandam Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 24, Verse 19. Once again, that is 3:24:19, Srimad Bhagavatam 3:24:19. Thank you for joining us at ISKCON Farmington Hills Srimad Bhagavatam class today. Hare Krishna. I am hoping I am audible. Hare Krishna. Okay, so starting the verse now. Ayam siddha ganadhishaha.
Ayam siddha ganadhishaha.
Sankhyaacharya susammataha.
Sankhyaacharya susammataha.
Sankhyaacharya susammataha.
Sankhyaacharya susammataha.
Loke kapila iti akhyam.
Loke kapila iti akhyam.
Ganta te kirti vardhanaha.
Ganta te kirti vardhanaha.
Ayam siddha ganadhishaha.
Ayam siddha ganadhishaha.
Sankhyaacharya susammataha.
Sankhyaacharya susammataha.
Loke kapila iti akhyam.
Loke kapila iti akhyam.
Ganta te kirti vardhanaha.
Ganta te kirti vardhanaha. Ayam siddha ganadhisha.
Ayam siddha ganadhisha.
Sankhyaacharya susammata.
Sankhyaacharya susammata.
Loke kapila iti akhyam.
Loke kapila iti akhyam.
Ganta te kirti vardhana.
Ganta te kirti vardhana.
Ayam siddha ganadhisha.
Ayam siddha ganadhisha.
Sankhyaacharya susammataha.
Sankhyaacharya susammataha.
Loke kapila iti akhyam.
Loke kapila iti akhyam.
Ganta te kirti vardhana.
Ganta te kirti vardhanaha. Thank you, Prabhuji. Reading synonyms. I am this personality of Godhead,
This personality of Godhead.
Siddhagana,
Siddhagana.
of the perfected sages,
Of the perfected sages.
Adhishaha,
Adhishaha.
the head,
The head.
Sankhya Acharya,
Sankhya Acharya.
by Acharyas expert in Sankhya philosophy,
By Acharyas expert in Sankhya philosophy.
Susammataha,
Susammataha.
approved according to Vedic principles,
Approved according to Vedic principles.
Loke,
Loke.
in the world,
In the world.
Kapilaha,
Kapilaha.
Kapilaha iti,
Kapilaha iti.
as Kapila,
As Kapila.
Akhyam,
Akhyam.
celebrated,
Celebrated.
Ganta,
Ganta.
he will go about,
He will go about.
te,
Te.
your,
Your.
kirti,
Kirti.
fame,
Fame.
vardhanaha,
Vardhanaha.
increasing.
Increasing.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charnarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Jai. Okay. Translation. Your son will be the head of all the perfected souls. He will be approved by the acharyas, expert in disseminating real knowledge. And among the people, he will be celebrated by the name Kapila. As the son of Devahuti, he will increase your fame. Purport. Sankhya philosophy is the philosophical system enunciated by Kapila, the son of Devahuti. The other Kapila, who is not the son of Devahuti, is an imitation. This is the statement of Brahma, and because we belong to Brahma's disciplic succession, we should accept his statement that the real Kapila is the son of Devahuti, and the real Sankhya philosophy is the system of philosophy which he introduced and which will be accepted by the acharyas, the directors of spiritual discipline. The word susammata means accepted by persons who are counted upon to give their good opinion. Hare Krishna. So I would like to seek blessings of all the Varisht Vaishnavas online and all the Varisht Vaishnavas present over here. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Pasyat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Vancha Kalptarubhyashcha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. It's very unqualified to speak, and I was hearing Yugal Kishore Prabhuji's discourse from yesterday, and he sat over here, and it only sends shivers to me to imagine I been asked to sit over here, very unqualified in the least to say, but I would do this service as his humble servant and as dust in his lotus feet and as a student of he as the teacher. So Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, chapter 24, and this verse is 19th verse. Shri Shri Radha Gopijan Vallabh Bhagwan ki Jai. Shri Shri Nitai Patit Pavan Gaura Hari ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So in this chapter, Brahma ji is speaking to Mother Devahuti, and he is now describing how Devahuti mother's son is going to be in the future, which is it's very amazing that Brahmaji is such a personality that this conversation is no ordinary conversation. This in itself is is establishing so many fundamentals which are beyond our perception, that there is a conversation going on, and this is not a speculation. A great personality is talking about the future, what is coming. How many people can do that? So this is no ordinary conversation. And then directly going into the subject matter, Srila Prabhupada in his purport, wherever Kapil there's the incarnation of the Lord, his description comes, and the description of Sankhya philosophy comes, Srila Prabhupada almost always he quotes this, because in the chronology of events, what has happened is that Sankhya Yoga was given by Lord Kapila to Mother Devahuti, and it became one discipline, one yoga, Sankhya Yoga. But over a period of time, in Kali Yuga, another personality has come. His name is Kapila, and he has presented the atomic theory, or if you can say, or this philosophy of observing and analyzing the material world. That's what the Sankhya Yoga is. Sankhya is philosophy of observing and analyzing the material world. This Kapila, this personality, he presented this in a very atheistic manner. Because if you look at this world, and if you do not have the Shabda Praman, if you do not have the idea or introduction to divinity, then this world does not, apparently by the gross sense perception, does not indicate the existence of God. So he has presented the observation and analysis of this world in a very atheistic manner. Now, why it becomes significant is because during the Indo-European, not the union, but maybe a cultural attack that was happening in India when the Britishers were invading and trying to learn our culture, the philosophers from Europe, especially Germans, they were asked to synthesize philosophical thoughts in such a way that they can bridge some gaps and try to prove the supremacy of European culture over Indian culture. As a result, the European philosophers have heavily promoted this Kapila and heavily promoted the atheistic presentation of Sankhya through his literary work. And so, Srila Prabhupada, being the prime crusader of Vedic philosophy and Vedic understanding, wherever it comes, right, the Sankhya philosophy, like in Bhagavad Gita, one of the foundational literature of spirituality in the Vedas, in the chapter 2, verse 39, Krishna summarizes the description that he had given till that point as that this is, until now I spoke about Sankhya Yoga, right? So, from very initial that point, Srila Prabhupada tries to establish that this atheistic philosophy, if you see the context of rest of the Bhagavad Gita, it cannot fit in. The atheistic philosophy cannot fit in, because he has just spoken about the soul and the jiva and the Paramatma, right? That relationship. So, so that's why Prabhupada writes over there that when Bhagavad Gita was spoken, this atheistic idea of Sankhya did not even exist. What existed was the Bhagavatam's Sankhya theology, right? So that is what Krishna's Sankhya and Lord Kapila's Sankhya, as described in Bhagavatam, are one and the same. That's what Prabhupada writes in the purport there. And then Prabhupada writes a Bhakti Vedanta purport. So he says they are all Bhakti Yoga. So Lord Krishna said, therefore, that only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Sankhya Yoga prathak bala pravadanti na pandita. Okay. So this becomes the theme of chapter 3 then. That should I renounce and go on the path of, Gyan, where Sankhya is very important, or should I go to the path of Karma Yoga, right? And that's where Krishna says then there is no difference between the two. But of the two, Sankhya requires speculation. So better than that is working, So we will talk a little more about this. This is one thing that Prabhupada tries to establish again and again, that Sankhya should not be considered atheistic. And in that sense, that is the idea of Krishna consciousness that is presented by Srila Prabhupada, because his idea was, no matter what guna it is in, aspect of life it is in, try to spiritualize it, try to make it Krishna conscious. That was the idea. So Sankhya can be atheistic, but Sankhya yoga, the moment the word yoga comes, it is turning divine. And that's why it can be Krishnatized. And unless it is Krishnatized, there is no concept of divinity. Right. So in that sense, if we see, there are different yogas that are explained, and unless somebody has deeply studied Bhagavad Gita and be able to see the ladder, the connection between all the yoga processes and the paths, they seem like individual paths. They seem like different paths. But the fact is that we all have certain natures, and we all have some foundational elements, which are the foundational elements of these different streams of yoga. And so I thought I will speak about them a little bit and see if in our Krishna consciousness, in our life, trying to lead a life which is Krishna conscious, what is the importance of these foundational elements on which each of these yogas stand. So for example, Gyan Yoga. Gyan Yoga, the importance of Gyan Yoga is that in its absolute terms, Gyan Yoga meant a path meant for those who are on the renounced order. If somebody is sitting at home with a wife and kids and says, I like Gyan Yoga more than Bhakti Yoga, it is a misunderstanding. It does not work, because Gyan Yoga, by definition, its core definition, it means that you leave the life of karma, which is being associated with this world, and you primarily switch your lifestyle to the lifestyle of renunciation, and that renunciation can be supported by the structure and framework and the foundation of knowledge, Shastric knowledge. So you read, you apply, and you renounce. That was Gyan Yoga. But the foundation on which it is standing is renunciation. Renunciation is very important in Krishna consciousness also, right? So there can be theoretical knowledge, then there is applied knowledge, and then there is realized knowledge. So applied knowledge results in renunciation. Yes. For example, in Krishna consciousness, we do not say that you should leave all different types of opulent prasads. We say you offer it to Krishna. Okay. Now, you offer most opulent food to Krishna. Krishna is happy. You take very opulent prasad. You are happy. It's a celebration. Everybody is happy. So this is perfect Krishna consciousness. Now this happens for 10 years. And let's say you do not believe in the idea of renouncing. You only believe in the idea of enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Krishna is also happy. I am also happy. One day, Krishna's desire is not going to match your desire. Krishna is totally happy in accepting very, very humble offering that day. And he is only going to take dry roti and salt. What happens to you? If you feel, why I did not get pizza, pasta, opulent food, that means you were not Krishna conscious even when you were celebrating all that. There was sense enjoyment. So there's no problem. But if the idea of renunciation is not there, the day you do not get what you wanted in Krishna consciousness, you are not Krishna conscious that day. And that's why the idea of renunciation is very important on the path of Krishna consciousness also. So these ups and downs means the days when our desire of enjoyment does not match with Krishna's desire, and life shows that day to each and every person. One day will definitely come when Krishna's desire is something else and your desire is not going to match with that. That day will be the test whether the need of renunciation for a Krishna conscious person is there or not. And you will realize that there is, So this is applied knowledge. Actually, on a very similar thought, I was recollecting that same ways there is an idea of humility also. The humility, there is theoretical humility, there is applied humility. So theoretical or on a surface level humility is where we come and we say very humble words to devotees around us. But then applied humility is where we follow the instructions that are given by Srila Prabhupada, that are given by the devotees. That is applied humility. Now, there are different flavors of bhaktas. There are some bhaktas who go directly for applied humility, but they stay a little away from verbally expressing that humility. And there are some who do both, verbally also humble and apply also, right? But out of the two, application of humility is more important than just verbal humility, right? And that means that I may sound humble all the time, but then when it comes to doing something, then I choose my ego over everyone else's ego. That is where the applied humility goes missing then, right? So that idea, at least to start, we should be aware of. Why it is important is because the idea of Krishna consciousness and the absence of it is defined by whether I am doing things for myself or for others' pleasure. Krishna consciousness is doing things for the pleasure of Krishna. If that mood is missing, then the activities are the same. I am also coming to the temple. I am also eating opulent prasad, this, that, everything. But that idea of renunciation is missing. The idea of from self-centered to being Krishna-centered is missing. Then one problem will happen. The moha, the attachment that we carry for things in this world, that will not go away. Because that is the direct result of renunciation. Knowledge cuts off knowledge. That's the direct result of knowledge. So knowledge cuts down the material knots of moha, of attachment. So this idea of studying Shastras with this mood that I want to become less selfish and more selfless, this is very important for a Krishna conscious person also. So this is like the Gyan Yoga is there. Gyan Yoga in itself is empty. It's like a zero. It's like a shunya. It will not take you anywhere. But Krishna conscious flavored Gyan Yoga is very important. Renunciation in Krishna consciousness, that is very important. So very, very close to the idea of Sankhya Yoga. When it comes to Sankhya Yoga, it is the philosophy which stands on observation and analyzing the material world. Okay, you observe and analyze the material world, that is Sankhya. So this is for a particular type of person. That particular type of person or nature of that person is that he is an observer. Everybody is an observer, but some people are more observant than others. Okay, like yesterday Prabhuji was talking about, he was just a very universal observation Prabhuji had, His Grace Yugal Kishore Prabhuji, that what happens to the skin? The skin is tight, then a person is getting attracted, and skin is loose, then they are not getting attracted. What is this? This is Maya. Now, how would you reach that? Because we are observing, and the reason for observing is very clear. It is a spiritual pursuit. So everybody, a lot of people may be observers in this world. There are people who take up to comic professions purely based on that they are observer. They observe and they make some joke out of it and they present it and they earn money, right? So even this observation, when it is Krishnatized, that is Sankhya Yoga, right? So if somebody does not believe in that, then what will happen? If somebody is not an observer, then one thing is very clear, which is mentioned over here, Sankhya Yoga, and then the term that has come here, a very important term, is Susammataha. So one thing happens when a person is not observer by nature. the nature of such person is usually that I do not meditate on things that do not matter to me. Two things happen because of this. First, it can happen that within devotion, when we say, right, Vancha kalpataru bheshta kripa sindhu evacha patita nam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah, anant koti means there are infinite categories. Anant koti Vaishnav Vrinda. Infinite categories of Vaishnavas exist. When a person is not very observant, sometimes they find it difficult. In the beginning, they find it difficult to appreciate those devotees who are practicing devotion in some different way than they are. This happens when you are not very keenly observant. And second thing that happens is that our worldview is underdeveloped. Our worldview is underdeveloped. That means I never took interest in finding out what's going on in the world. And because of that is totally fine. For bhakti, it is totally fine. But when we speak to people, then they cannot relate to us. So there's a very funny incident, one of our Maharajas, they share this. He himself shares it, so I am sharing it, that they were totally secluded, and that is extremely important. The worldview, the idea that your worldview and you are thinking about developing your worldview can be suicidal for a person who is beginning in Krishna consciousness, because you never give up meditating on material objects. That is not good. So initially there should be some exclusive time when you try to disassociate and stop meditating and all this and become very pakka in your spirituality. And when one of our Maharajas, he spent years serving the deities disconnected from rest of the world. When he came back and he went for a preaching program, he was making references to the Vietnam War again and again. And as if like it is happening right now. So after everything is done, everything was fine. It was happening in an educational institution. So the teacher came and he was like, Swamiji, I really liked what you said, but what was that war that you were talking about? And he was like, the Vietnam War. And she was like, it ended 11 years ago, So this was good because at least they were able to connect with rest of it. And it happens for the Maharajas and very elevated devotees that these things do not matter. Their charisma and their spiritual strength is so high that people get attracted to that. And that should be the goal. That is the most non-hypocritical way of doing things. Like when Srila Prabhupada came with such a heavy Bengali accent, most of the Americans did not understand what Swamiji is saying. But because of his spiritual energy being so potent and his love manifesting in so many ways, applied love, that not just spoken love, applied love, that people were getting attracted. And that's exactly what they said. We didn't know what Swamiji is saying, but we liked him. So this happens for them. And that should be our inner goal, that I want to, more than be impressive, I have to be more internalizing. But until we get there, we have to preach as well. Like I asked His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, I have a long way to cover in my spirituality, but there's also an idea to present this to people. Okay, what should I focus on? And he just said 2 words. He was like, do both. That's it. I was like, okay. So then what we have to do is that we have to follow what is given in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita chapter 7. Krishna starts comparing himself with, different aspects of material energy. He says, I am the taste of water. I am, among seasons, I am this, or in opulence of the absolute in chapter 10, he compares so many things that you look at the material world, you will be able to think of me. Right? So that observation is not needed. You don't need to be an observer at all if you don't want to give opinions to people. So humility needs to be applied in that field, that this is not my nature. I don't observe and I don't stay up to date on things. I do not have expert advice on this. So I take a humble position. And the real genuine people, they do that then. If you ask them something, if they are really very confident about what they are doing in their life, and they know that something is not my stream, they say, I don't have much idea about that. You could talk to so and so person. Simple. But if we have that tendency that we give opinions, then the only justice that we can do is that give those opinions responsibly. Which means that if I have to give a spiritual solution to a material problem, then I give a very clear indication, this is what I have to offer. I am giving you a spiritual solution for a material question, material problem. That is fine. What is not fine is when I have seen, and I have not seen this in devotees, but I have seen it in materialistic people, that somebody is very established in a career based on films division, and then they try to become an authority on spiritual understanding. That is a blunder. Somebody is a very well established actor, and he is giving medical advice. Blunder, right? So that idea is very important, and I have seen that in general people give opinions, and that's why it is important that we observe. And this observation, Krishna is saying in chapter 2, is anybody who has an opinion is actually a Muni. Okay. And Muni, by definition, Srila Prabhupada starts this purport for 2.56. So 2.56 is Dukkheshva anidvigna manaha Sukkheshu vigatah spraha Vitaraga bhaya krodha Sthita dhir munir uchyate. Anybody who is an observer or has an opinion, right? I will connect it with what we are talking about right now. The word very significant that has come is susammata, somebody who's counted to give a good opinion. Okay. Who should, or what is that, that a person should do to give good opinions? So the first point is the person who is a thinker can have an opinion. So everybody is a thinker, everybody has an opinion. How can we sharpen it? How can we take it in the right direction? How can you improve your opinions? So Krishna is saying, one who is not disturbed in the mind, even amidst threefold misery, okay, in different stages, such person is called, who is not disturbed by different situations. Such a sage, such a person is called a sage of steady mind. So now that means there are sages who do not have steady mind. Mostly all of us probably. But there's another thing. Muni is not only just a person who's a thinker, but also they are trying to understand the spiritual life, spirituality, divinity. So Srila Prabhupada starts this purport by saying that Muni means somebody who can agitate their mind in various ways for mental speculation. That means by definition, Munis are speculators. They are not factual. And it's understandable that in spiritual discipline, how will you be factual? You can only be factual by Shabda Praman. And a Muni does not accept, they accept Shabda Pramans, but they accept the lower principle and they try to concoct them, mix them and come up with something. So many people in the Sankhya field, what they do is they come up with these, because they are speculators, they come up with books. And there are library full of books on, Sankhya, where this person, he quotes all these non-Bhagwan, not non-Bhagavad Tattva related, philosophies they'll pick up from different Upanishads. And based on that, they will try to present a thought. And all the purpose of that is that Muni is trying to establish himself as someone of value among the Munis. And that's why Prabhupada writes that if every Muni has to have a different angle of vision. And unless a Muni differs from others, he is not called a Muni in the strict sense of terms. So if I write a book and I say, I agree with this Muni when he says this, I agree with that Muni, I agree with that Muni, but I did not give a speculation of my own, then I am not counted as a Muni. So then Prabhupada says, but after all that speculation, if somebody reaches the conclusion, Vasudevam Sarvamiti, right, then what will happen is his intelligence will stabilize. Such a person is called Sthita Dhir Munirochyate. That means now he has understood the ultimate goal of life is to attain Krishna, love for Krishna, bhakti. But the nature that I am a thinker, I am an observer, right? That should not stop. It's just a goal, it's a direction, it's a flavor that I have given to my researching. But the process has not stopped. Right? It's not that, I was looking for it, and then I came to Prabhupada's books and I understood what it is and what needs to be done in life. And that's it. Now I sit aram se, and I'm thinking about writing another book on being how to be a Muni. Not like that. It has to be applied. It comes back to that same thing, right? That getting to know the highest goal is not achieving the highest goal. We still have to cover that ground. And based on our natures, some of the things can be ignored. That, okay, I just don't have some very humble Mataji. She's not an observer. She's not a talker. She's not a very socializing person. And she never was able to see herself as a preacher. Fine. Then that Mataji, they take that humble position. If you will go to them with most humility, they will tell that I'm not the right person to give opinions. I just come, I do service, I'm trying to develop love for Krishna. I want to follow what my Guru Maharaj has said and apply humility by following the instructions that are given to me. So it is a discipline. It is a type of a devotee. We cannot say everybody must be a preacher, everybody must. But there are some principles that should not and should never go away. Like we say, right? The principles are the same. The details may vary, right? So, as far as the principles are followed, the bhav, the nature, based on that, people pick up different services, that is totally fine. When we were talking about different yogas, I have also wanted to cover in short two very close friends of these two. The first very close friend of Gyan Yoga and Sankhya Yoga is Buddhi Yoga. Prabhupada's Bhakti Vedanta purport is Buddhi Yoga is devotional service. Fine, we understood the highest goal, but what is Buddhi Yoga? Buddhi means the power of discretion and understanding. So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says that in that sense, Buddhi, there cannot be any yoga without Buddhi. How can you have any yoga where you are not using your mind? Okay, so if you go by the atheistic definition, or not the atheistic, but the impersonal definition of Buddhi Yoga, they say that you try to connect your mind with the higher consciousness. They don't know that higher consciousness is Krishna. So there are different processes which are all in Ashtanga Yoga, by which you try to connect your Buddhi also to the divine, right? For us, highest goal is understood. The highest goal is that Buddhi Yoga, when one realizes, when then we seek the mercy of Krishna. His Grace Nandiketan Prabhu is there. He quoted this verse to me, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. Krishna says that how will you get Buddhi Yoga? When Krishna gives it. When he gives it, Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. When somebody serves with love. And he was quoting Yugal Kishore Prabhuji. That, Yugal Kishore Prabhuji was saying that we are doing devotional service. But Krishna is not giving that mercy. Why is it happening? Then he said, because Priti Purvakam is important. There has to be the aspect of love also in that service, right? So this is the goal, Buddhi Yoga. But this Buddhi, intelligence, it has to be applied, and in that ways to where I am standing also, so that I can understand my swabhav. Self-realization, realizing my swabhav, the divine I have to understand what all are the impediments between me and my attaining the divine consciousness. So some hard work has to be done in understanding my swabhav also, so that I can align myself properly in terms of Krishna consciousness. From this comes the topic of karma yoga also. Either you are a full-time, even when you are full-time, what are the impediments that are coming in your path? Is there moha? Probably does not apply so much for a full-time devotee as much as it applies to anybody who is either earning or is running the household. That means the grahasthas. Karma yoga, understanding karma yoga is very important for that matter. Why? Because you cannot imagine how much bandhan karma creates. Tremendous amount of bandhan. I recently spoke to a very senior devotee, doing so financially so well that he has retired from active work himself. Okay. He has enough money to take care of 3 generations. His next 3 generations don't need to work. And the perfection of his life is that he is following the instructions of his guru, and he is 99%, he is full-time in a temple. But they are still maintaining one business and some earning through that. Okay. I think that's glorious. First of all, we could say that this is also not perfection, because every day we sing Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. Pure devotional service means no karma, no occupation other than Krishna consciousness. Right? And he's doing that in almost all its terms. But he said that I am not pure enough to be called full-time right now. I'm still maintaining a business right now. The point that I am making by that is that karma bandhan, and how when we are working, we have to bring the idea every day I walk into work, at least I should theoretically be aware that I have to make it Nishkam Karma Yoga. Nishkam means selfless. Again, that has to come. And Nishkam karma cannot be achieved if you are struggling in your karma. If there is a struggle, you could never be able to do Nishkam, because that is Rajo, it is creating anxiety for you. You would never be able to experience the peace that comes because of perfection in Sattva that lies beyond that passion. If you do not understand the chapter 3 and chapter 4, where Krishna is explaining Karma Yoga, simply by saying that I have decided, I have accepted the highest goal given by Prabhupada of devotional service, everything is going to be fine. Then yes, everything will be fine. Maybe you will attain also, but you will have that anxiety which is not born of anything other than misunderstanding of Karma Yoga. Okay, so these are like the other sides. So if we are interacting, the whole idea of Krishna consciousness is to rise up to a higher level of consciousness by the power of knowledge, by the power of applying that into our intelligence, right? So if we are anyways in the boat which is giving us so much knowledge, why not try to bring every aspect of our life into knowledge? And that is very important for giving good opinions. Very important for giving good opinions, right? And our stream of divinity or attaining divinity, or our path of attaining Krishna, requires preaching. That means we want to talk to people. And if we want to talk to people, the most important point that happens is that every time we are speaking, the audience are continuously evaluating whether I can connect with them or not. What they are speaking, can I relate to it, and can I ask questions? The speaker, by the format and structure of their speech also, they make themselves available or unavailable. And the more liberty you give in your statements by simplifying the subject matter, the more liberty a person will take in connecting, relating, and then asking you more questions. I have myself probably given, spoken on the topics in a way where I'm deliberately keeping it very theoretical. Because I don't know how to answer. So I keep it very, this thing. Then I know nobody will ask a question. Keep it difficult. This was something that was done by Vyasdev to Lord Ganesha, right? Because they had a pact, right? Lord Ganesha said, okay, I'll write all the Vedas. But my condition is you stop, I stop. Then Vyasdev had a condition. Okay, so then good condition. I have a counter condition. You will only write when you understand. You're like, okay, fair enough. So every time a topic is ending and Vyasdev ji is running out of ideas, what he will do is he will make the shloka difficult. So Ganesh ji himself will stop and start thinking. That will give him sufficient time to think of the next topic. Vyasdev ji has done that. So when you throw something difficult at the audience, they will be stunned. If you are sitting in Vyasasan Vyasdev, then the people follow Ganesha. So it's natural. It's natural that that people will be like, "Ore baapre, this is all above me." Such a difficult class means the only thing you can raise your hand for is to say, "I did not understand anything," right? So that's why for having a sharp and deep opinion, very important is Prahlad Maharaj says that there are material problems, they can never be solved by material solutions. Material solutions give rise to more material problems. So for material problems, there should be spiritual solutions. That means our solutions should be based on Shabda Praman, by the study of Shastras, by hearing from the spiritual master. Now, this is just level 1. Level 2 is Pratyaksha. You should be able to share some experiences. So there are 2 types of people, 2 types of learners. First are first-class learners. Anyone like His Grace Yugal Kishore Prabhu, who has heard hundreds of experiences of other people, and he has learned from it, and he quotes those to tell others also. Those experience helps the other person also understand Shabda. He has understood it. This is the best way. The second way is that somebody has gone through his own failures and experiences. This is helpful because you can share your story, but there is a limitation to that. And that limitation is that even if you were able to solve it, you have only one way of solving that problem, which was the way you did it. It may or may not apply to the other person. Second is maybe you just have a failed story to share. So only one way how not to do things. So once again, for anybody who wants to do something for Prabhupada, first is, yes, establish ourselves in the basic tenets of bhakti very strongly. But after that, we should try to selflessly socialize ourselves as much as we can. If you will not take up to the nature of selflessly socializing yourself, you would be devoid of hearing all these different experiences of different people who could even be just devotees facing difficulties in spiritual life. It need not be material stories. But I have seen in India what the so many brahmacharis, what they do is they talk to even non-devotees. And their purpose back in the mind is not that I have to turn this person into a devotee. They are just collecting knowledge which would probably help another devotee. So collecting experiences is the very important part which comes under the umbrella of Sankhya Yoga. Okay. So with that, I have just one last point, a last thought. And this was that there is variegatedness. And you will observe, you will see that there are different types of people, Anantakoti Vaishnavas. And every devotee has a flavor. I was having this discussion yesterday that that there are some devotees, and every person treats the other person like themselves. So if I don't follow all the rules properly, the rules that I have learned, okay, then I'm being liberal on myself. Such people usually promote liberal ideas. And there are some people who follow the rules very strictly, and they are seen as conservatives. And they are the ones, when they speak, they know the importance of following the rules, so they give it to others. So mostly who are conservatives on themselves are conservatives for others, and those who are liberal for themselves are liberal for others. Okay, there are pitfalls on both. The pitfall of conservative is that if you are conservative with others, right, they will see you as hard-hearted, insensitive, and they will not like you. The problem with liberals, but conservatives are actually very rare, because conservatives actually make some real progress because they are conservative with themselves. The problem with liberals are liked by others. Others like liberals a lot because they say very sweet things. They are very fine, totally this, that. But they have the great risk of not following those rules themselves. So they would have serious issues in their bhakti, leading to probably hypocrisy, where people think they are great, but they themselves are not following things properly. So the ideal and very rare is when somebody is conservative with themselves and liberal with others. That's mostly I've seen in 15, 20 years of bhakti, somebody like Yugal Kishore Prabhuji, Guru Maharaj, other sannyasis, Shyam Kishore Prabhu. They are into that zone, where they are conservative with themselves and liberal with others. But when devotees talk and when they see and when they are not able to appreciate, if I am a liberal, I like a liberal. If I don't, I'm a conservative, I like a conservative. For that, I had come up with an analogy, and some devotees liked it a couple of years ago. So I was just meditating on, if you want to put it in a comparison, I'll just end with sharing that an organization, anywhere where people come together for a common idea, common goal, right? It is like a flower. And in a flower, there is a central part. There's a base, right? From that base, petals come out. The base usually is not very attractive color. Okay, it has no fragrance to itself. But it is the most important part because it's keeping the petals together. Petals are very colorful, and it's the petals which have the fragrance to it. Conservatives are like that base. They define what that organization stands for. Somebody may be very pakka, I have to wear dhoti kurta. That is defining ISKCON. Somebody may be a liberal, I can wear denim also, shirt also. But that denim and shirt does not represent ISKCON. You cannot tell, right? So the definition is protected by the conservatives alone in a society, in a organization. They define it, they protect it. They are the upholders of principles and rules that should be followed, that define us, right? Liberals are like those petals which have the color and fragrance which attract others. If a conservative, if we stay like that, this is what I have to do, I'm not accommodating to others, then nobody knows. And there may be several institutions like that, but nobody knows them. It's the liberals who extend out, who present, who make ourselves presentable, relatable, connectable. Bridge preaching is a word that comes sometimes, where we want to invite people to come over, right, and reach this. If the conservatives are not there, the liberals will just wither away. There is no standing ground. Where will you come back to? So this was the analogy that I had for this, and we need both. We need liberals and we need conservatives, but it's not that either of those two Krishna is promising will not take or will take. The idea that each conservative and each liberal should know is that the liberals have to be more conservative in their practice, and the conservatives have to be more liberal in dealing with others. So that is my thought today on this. Please forgive me if I have spoken anything wrong or more than my adhikar. And sorry for going a little over time. If you have any comments, Hare Krishna. Then
Ask in Zoom.
Hare Krishna. Anybody has any comments? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to share something?
Questions I'll have to analyze.
Some thoughts to
Please.
Like I like what you shared to you. So first thing I like is how you are mentioning how to be selfless. And I was reflecting deeply on this that only actually exalted souls can truly be selfless. Because to always think about others' welfare first, you have to be like should like that. His Holiness Devanath Maharaj said that someone asked a new person why you took sannyas. So he said, when you don't have any problems in life, then others' problems become important. So, and one becomes pure devotee, then only can actually reach out to others. And then I also like that point you mentioned that this speculation thing. So I was deeply thinking that, you don't have to try to speculate because that's like the nature of the mind.
Right.
Thinking, speculation is like automatic.
Yeah.
In fact, you have to try not to speculate.
Yeah.
I like that point also that we shouldn't give opinions where we are not. And then I was also thinking about that point that being liberal and conservative. So I was thinking like, of course, on a blanket statement, you can say that you should be conservative yourself, liberal with others, but then there are gradations. There are gradations, and the thing is that sometimes being very conservative with others is very good. At the same time, with the same person, another time being liberal is very good.
Yeah.
So it's like a combination, and that's why there's no like black or white. It's always it's always variable. And I was just thinking about how much spiritual maturity maturity is so important. And actually the greatest thing you can give others is experience, like pratyaksha or experience. And this experience, like in the liberated state, you can give experience like just like that. So in a conditioned state, the only way you can give experience to others, even though you may not be qualified, you need to take a very humble position. So even though you may not have it, because you are very humble and you are trying to follow, so because of that, Guru can manifest through, even though you have no idea what's going on.
Right.
But Guru can manifest through. So just some thoughts. I just wanted to share so that I myself, remember. But it's a constant stretch between preaching and sadhana. Preaching is also constant stretch because preaching seems like there's no end. Sadhana seems there's no end. So like there's no way we're fully satisfied. People always say more time. And you'll also feel, I always have to do more, So there's always a stretch between both. That's not being sure.
Very good. I would just like to add one point, Prabhuji. Because yes, I can understand that to be purely selfless, one has to be at a very high stage, but it is very important to start on that path. And the biggest impediment for many people to be selfless is that like you ask someone that okay, if you had $10 million, what will you do? And then they will say, I don't need $10 million. I'll probably give most of it in charity. I'll give $9.5 million in charity. I'll keep maybe just $500,000 for myself. Okay. You have $100,000 today sitting in your bank. Have you donated $95,000 out of that to charity and just kept 5,000 for yourself? The point I'm saying is that many a times for people in general, the idea of being selfless or being available for others is an idea I will do when I have a lot, or when I have progressed a lot in whatever I am, then I'll start being selfless. But it does not work like that. The idea of selflessness can start even for a person who only has 10 rupees in hand and he's ready to give 9 away. You don't have to be financially rich to be rich in heart, to start being selfless. And that's why I think a very important point, because it's a transition from our being self-centered to being Krishna-centered and devotee-centered, is the idea of Krishna consciousness. I feel that this is very important, that one should immediately start on having that attitude of being selfless. Just that, Prabhuji. Yeah, but true in its truest terms.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's ultimately what is self.
Yes. Yeah.
That being more happy to support others doing kirtan and still one doing kirtan. Being more enthusiastic to hear others giving chance and one giving. Being more enthusiastic to distribute prasad and take prasad. Being more enthusiastic. That doesn't mean that you skip your
Exactly. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for that.
Please pray that bless me that I can apply.
Hare Krishna.
Especially that being.
Please pray for me and for all of us, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So respecting the time, which I have already a lot over, my apologies for that, and I think we'll stop here. Thank you so much. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.